Yeah, everyone calls me Kate's. My mom gave an ambitious start with Catherine, but we don't do that. It's just too long in culture usually. So I'm a philosopher trained at Berkeley, and right now I'm working for Initiative, which if people know, media and advertising works like this. Media companies buy empty boxes, and then Mad Men that you see on the TV show, they make pictures and stick them in the boxes. So that's how media and advertising works. So I work for a global organization that buys all of the empty boxes for people like Amazon, Kia, Dr. Pepper, Hyundai, CKE, which is Carl's Jr.'s suite of brands, Dr. Pepper. And so that's the sort of North American business. So for all of those that were at your lovely talk about user flow, my company knows all about the boxes that you click, so then people like Randy can design user flow to trick you. It was actually a very nice setup for me. So, because this talk is about privacy in two ways, right? So privacy is on one hand, to the technologists in the room, it's a straight up encryption coding issue. Hackers will always be able to find you, just get used to that right now. But one of the things that privacy is also is privacy is emotion, right? So we don't say privacy has been violated. We say like my privacy has been violated. So what we're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do when I'm not working at the North American brand level, is work for the global team, like the CEO, global data directors, to say, okay, we have user flows, we can trick people. It turns out we're all really simple creatures, like we really just want like hugs and shelter and safety. Like we've way overcomplicated it. But the thing is like if that's all we really need, right, then we have so much more data than we need. But what we're trying to develop with that data right now, if you work at the company that I work for, is ads for Kia, so you get a hamster ad. But what we could be doing with that data is something that I think is a redefined business model for the future. And I advocate to the global team, okay, given that we have these very simple needs and people have this privacy issue that's deeply emotional, what if we move the business model from surveillance data, right? And that's something like the user scandal with Facebook where you all figured out they can like F with your happiness levels. So what if we didn't do that, because that's kind of creepy and stalker-ish? But think about all of the things that Facebook knows, right, about you, that a developing world like an NGO would want to know about, like women's health. Like think about all the user patterns of women that Facebook knows. Why doesn't Facebook want to collaborate with that data? It's my data, right? So there's a lot of people who are trying to fix and reinvent business models, say, oh, pay me for my data, whatever. I'm interested in collaborative data as aid or world share. And I think corporations like mine that are global, that stop being the white elephant in the room and try to get their brands to go public and say, hey, Amazon, what if Amazon said, hey, I'm gonna track everything you buy, but I'm gonna share it out with these NGOs that we support, right? I think this is an interesting model, so I'm gonna walk you through sort of how this model might work, and it's the work that I do at the global level for this global marketing firm called Initiative. So I work for a company that makes things free for you, right? Your data is why things are free, so just let's be clear. We don't need to change that, but just everybody know. So if you've seen BuzzFeed, right? So BuzzFeed is a deeply data-driven network. And if you like, do we have sound for this guy? All the free content that you see, whether it's on BuzzFeed or Onion or anywhere, your data pays for that. So if we get sound, these are, if you've ever seen this is guys reading their girlfriend's texts.
I would definitely say I'm a lot more flowery and emotional in text to my man.
Can you guys swap phones and read some of each other's texts?
I don't know if this is allowed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we do that most days.
Yeah, you can see them.
Yeah, can you get
Let me go get it. Oh, shit.
You want to swap for us?
It'd be yin and yang, I swear to God.
Why not? Let's see it.
Oh my God.
Oh, man. All right, hold on.
All right, boy.
Oh, this is dangerous.
Oh God.
Let's see,
I don't
Jeff.
think so.
Let's see. I unlocked it for you.
Everything.
Oh, she just texted me. She did. I want to read this one.
This is an interesting one. This is not gonna go well for you.
How about this one?
No, don't. That's my sister.
Oh, shit.
Oh no, that's terrible. I want you to have a good day. I have to talk to the days. You said that? Did you talk to the days?
I did talk to the days. It's
How
going
is
to
it
be better
going?
today. It's going to be better for the rest of the day.
He said, I want to Skype too. Let's Skype for like a little bit. She said, I'm blushing. He says, I want to see the blush. Why can't you just be here right now? I want to kiss you.
Got a lot of naked pictures of her here.
Thanks.
Yay for kisses. That's definitely him. He's like, yay for kisses.
You're making no sense, pretty lady. P.S. Good kisser.
He suggests tonight exercise, and she goes maybe, and Nick says naughty.
All right. Love your butt. Can't wait to taste it. Oops, I can't wait to taste it. It was autocorrect.
Okay, so this is longer, but the point is, in order to give you free things like that, the company has to know a lot about you, right? So this is the data that we pull. So the reason that the data is pulled is because that data says, apparently, that's actually what everybody's interested in right now, which take that as a comment on culture, however you like. But it also means when you should play it, how long it should be, who should be in it, guys versus girls. BuzzFeed is super data driven. So whatever the data says, they create content exactly to match the data. And the advertising revenue from the brands for like the company I work for pays for all that. So they have to know a lot of things about you in order to make the right content, drop it in the right place, make it the right length, right? So here's all the things that a company like mine knows about you. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing is there's something called ComScore, right? So it tracks every single site you visit, right? Then the second thing is every site you watch. So there's this big database called RentTrack, which is viewing habits. And then that's laid over, and you have to remember these are layers. So if they don't find you in one, they'll find you in the next, or if they find you in two, they'll layer the three. Every purchase you make, Experian actually sells all your data back out. So here's an example. Let's say I want to buy yoga pants, and I start shopping yoga pants on the site. Then after that, let's say for whatever reason, I get like really inspired to travel with my yoga pants, but I haven't really bought them yet. But I watch tons of travel shows, places like Panama. I see all these like hotels I want to go visit. And then let's say on Thursday, Experian finally notices that I buy it. So you can see to an advertiser, now I know the average person that buys yoga pants looks on a Tuesday, spends 2 days watching places of travel they might be able to wear their yoga pants. And most transactions happen between Thursday, between like 2 and 4 p.m. So with that kind of specific data, somebody who's marketing yoga pants like a Lululemon that can afford a budget for marketing like that, they don't have to waste a lot of that money finding you. They don't need to market to you until after you've already shopped for the pants, right? So they'll come find you and stick it in those travel shows. And then they might do retargeting, which we talked about a little bit today, which is essentially like you hit on one website and that's the thing that keeps following you everywhere, right? So, and they'll do that close to 2 p.m. on a Thursday, because that's 2 to 4 is when you're gonna buy those pants, definitely. So you can see it just makes it really efficient, right? So in some ways it's great. This is how you get cheap Groupon and whatever. Like I said, it's a give and take. So this is just something that's interesting. But that's how much everybody knows about you. So right now, if you want, write down how this makes you feel, right? Every site you visit, everything you watch, everything you buy is being watched all the time, unless you've decided to do things like, I don't ever have location on my phone, or like I rock an unlocked GSM phone. So if you haven't done things like that, just kind of think how that makes you feel, because this is the part where privacy isn't about encryption. It's about, did you participate in that relationship? Not really, like you said yes to Gmail, but the power's on one side, you can see, right? So privacy is also an emotional issue because it's about who was invited into the conversation and where the hierarchy lies. So remember, you didn't have any choice to be in this relationship, right? You said yes to Gmail, but it wasn't posed to you as like, oh, PS, right? And then you decided like willfully, like, okay, that's a good deal, yes. Like that's not how it worked. So I used to be in school to study how technology changed our identity, where I got interested, but in where like the power relationships are around technology. And this is a little bit of what you talked about today. User flow and the kinds of way that media and just digital culture flows means that if you want the service, whether it's the free BuzzFeed text reading thing or you want the Gmail, you're gonna essentially do what the technology tells you to do. So I theorized that power was on the side of the technology and we tend to become whatever technology expects of us. I was right. This was like back in the day. So these are just some headlines over the last couple years, and this isn't anything we don't know now, right? How many studies about like people are lonelier on Facebook now, and we just don't have a good balance between, I call it outer life and inner life, because we want the services of technology and we haven't had a kind of conversation with ourselves about what role we like to play in that kind of power structure, right? My favorite one is Nintendo's now gonna make like a sleep tracking device because you won't turn yourself off, so Nintendo will just keep watching you to try to help you turn yourself off. I love them for being in the medical space, but you're like, oh gosh, you guys, we should just go home and think about this for a little bit. So now I'm in advertising to study how our power is being traded for free things like Gmail and the guys that read texts. Only like I said, we never really agreed to that relationship. So if you look again what you wrote down or you thought about how privacy makes you feel, you'll see most of it stems from this lack of power. Like, I maybe still want my Gmail, but like, that wasn't really a cool swap now that I thought about it. Because think about all the free services you use. That means all of them are doing that kind of data stalking on you or surveillance or however you want to call it. Wouldn't it be more interesting to have power in this relationship? Like, why are you outside the power structure? These are just really basic questions that we can ask in a more interesting way. So this is the current model for how ads work, right? So everything's being watched, and then you get hamster ad. Yeah, or like yoga pants ad. Okay, so I think what you can reinvent business to do with this kind of data is collaborative data. Wouldn't it be more interesting if all of that data, like we said about the Thursday between 2 and 4, if you know someone's gonna buy yoga pants that cost $42, think of all the NGOs trying to solicit $40 donations for microlending, right? If you happen to have time on a Thursday to shop, every brand knows that about you that's watching you. If you happen to have income during Thursdays on the 15th because you got paid, brands know that about you, right? You don't think NGOs and nonprofits and small startups want this data, but they can't afford it because, like I said, for somebody to come to a corporation like the one I work for a marketing budget, get out your checkbook. Like, hopefully we can do something with like the Carl's Jr. thing. It's a $2 million campaign where we're just gonna go hang out in cities, and have like cooks tell Carl's Jr. what to make. It costs $2 million. Like, how's a developing world NGO gonna pay for the data that would have funded an event like that? It's just not, it's too hard. So it'd be more interesting, I think, if that data was then shared to create aid in the world, right? And this is something we call collaborative data. So wouldn't it be more interesting to collaborate with a company that makes free things for you to discover other uses of that data that can transform the world? And here's the microlending example. So if you're familiar with Kiva, right? So they do microloans, microfinancing, usually women's initiatives. But what if the microlender knew what site you visited and what shows you watched and what you bought? And then they use that to guess the same things advertisers guessed about Snapple and Kia and everything else. When you're happy, that's when you want to buy because it's neurochemistry and you have paid and you're stoked and you're like, yoga pants, right? But what if you had that same reaction, red button, Facebook style, for microlending or like all these things we're trying to get off the ground? And one of the big disconnects we have is that everybody's bootstrapped that's running innovative stuff off the ground for the business models right now. Go get a VC, go get a loan, have a downtown project. Like, I came from New Orleans where there was a big arts initiative and I worked at a think tank that was sponsored by the arts initiative after Katrina, right? Think how much more dollars are available than keeping cities being the pumping engines of these things, or VCs. It's not the only way, but it's a new way. And data's sitting there and it can be used in this collaboration. So if you want, you can write that, how that makes you feel, because I think it's a very different feeling when you say, like, is that privacy okay? Because for me, that kind of privacy is okay. You're welcome to use all the surveillance you want. If I know I'm world building with you, because now we're in a relationship, right? And this goes to this community model. We live our values out and we explore jobs and hobbies and friends that meet our interests, right? And the world can be powered by data that meets those interests too, is what I believe. And so when I think about reinventing business for the next round, if you're someone that's in development, if you have an app, like even the Catalyst app, look at the permissions they ask for from you. Some of them I'm honestly not sure why you need. Like, I'm gonna be really real. That's just deep surveillance. But what if there was a layer over the Catalyst app that said, hey, with this data, we also support these 3 projects in the downtown. Want to share your data and give us a couple more things? How many people would say yes to that? Yeah. So I don't get why this isn't happening, other than it's just been the pattern not to share. And just like all of the sharing economy, whether it's cars or Uber or co-working spaces, data to me is the next frontier of a sharing economy. So I think the next disruptive business model will be collaborative data, where the goal is to give the audience power, which reduces that privacy, creepy, whatever, right? And this isn't one, like, this is just my idea for it. And this is what I work on my job with my global team. But like, this is just the start of thinking how you can use data no matter what kind of business you develop. If you're an app designer, tons of businesses are collecting data. All the businesses we saw are going to collect data. So if you think about how to spin this concept out to your particular business, then we have a new data model for like all of us. And I think that's a huge amount of community power.